Hey, Scrappy Peeps, Susanna here today for Sketch It Up, Sketch It Down. This is the sketch that Iris created. This is a collaborative series that we are working on and showing you how to use sketches in multiple ways, and that is the layout that I created using her single page sketch. So what I did was as soon as I saw the bubbles on the sketch or the circles, I knew that I wanted this to be a swim layout. So I rotated the sketch 90 degrees to the right, and I decided to duplicate it going across the page. I am using some Vicki Boutin art crayons. I have the Cool palette, and what I've done is I've pulled out the 3 different blue shades, and I am just going to use the packaging technique here. So what I'm doing is I'm coloring onto some packaging, adding some water, and then I'm just smushing or kissing the color to the cardstock. This is plain white cardstock. I have not used gesso or anything on the background, so it does warp a little bit, but not a whole lot. I don't have any of the Vicki Boutin paper. I have not been able to find it locally and do not want to pay the shipping for it. So this is just plain old white cardstock, and it works just fine. So I am using the gradated colors here. Some of it I'm kind of smushing around, some of it I am letting just drip. I want that variety in color as well as texture, and I know that the strips of photos and pattern paper are going to go horizontal, which is what I was showing you with my hands right there. So I know I don't want a whole lot of color in the middle, and that's why it looks the way that it does. And that's the fun thing about mixed media, is you really never know how it's going to turn out. It's not really reproducible, and it doesn't look like much when it's like that, but it really does come together really nicely. So this is a Vicki Boutin stencil. I am taking her art crayons, and I am going to just add color to the stencil. Some of this is going to be dry color, which is going down onto the wet art crayon, and some of it I will spritz. I actually am going to end up smushing color because my finger has blue on it, but that's fine. I am not bothered by it. The effect that I'm looking for are the circles that are in the sketch. And I just want to sort of recreate that. I am going to use a mix of both this stencil as well as some of Vicki's stamps that I got from Tuesday morning, and that is going to be how I choose to create these circles on the page. The nice thing about the sketch is that if you wanted to use stars instead of circles, you absolutely could, or hearts or any other shape. That circle could just be a placeholder. I opted for the circles because it was those circles that made me think of water, and made me think of my swimmer, or one of my 2 swimmers. Those of you who know me and follow my work know that I am a swim mom, and I do a lot of swimming layouts. I have a lot of swimming pictures. I have a lot of unscrapped swimming pictures. So this was a perfect way of getting some of those, or one particular event, and getting a lot of pictures done. So those of you who follow swimming, know swimming, this was NCSA Juniors down in Orlando, Florida this past spring. This was the first event that I got to watch, but Nicholas's second event of the meet. It was the 400 free. He did not swim well, which is kind of ironic that I used the title Happy Times, but it was a decent swim. It was not a PB, but yeah, anyway. So what I'm doing here is I have 3 different color palette stamps, and I am just going to use various different stamps from the stamp collection, and just add different colors. So in the sketch, you can kind of see how the circles are, they kind of go on a diagonal on the page. So I tried to create that diagonal effect from the top left of the page down to that bottom right hand side. So the rest of what I'm going to use, so that was all Vicki Boutin goodies, and now the rest of what I'm going to use is Cocoa Vanilla Studio, the Happiness Collection, and I have taken, it ends up being for the most part a monochromatic layout with the different hues of the turquoise. However, I am going to put pops of pink in there because you can see his red cap and the red in the flags as well as the Speedo red. So I do end up going for just a small pop of pink. Now, I struggled with the way that the layers Iris has in her page. I really liked that the layers were asymmetrical, but making them asymmetrical spread across 2 pages is something that I really struggled with. I honestly toyed with just leaving them straight, but I do a lot of straight, and so I challenged myself to make this work, to find a way to be able to do this. And so you will see me kind of play around with trying to figure out how I'm going to get that to work. But eventually, what ends up happening is that turquoise blue, it is asymmetrical across the page, and that bothered me initially, but I had to just learn to let that go because it was really, in the grand scheme of things, it was a small detail and you weren't going to really notice that. So it also, to add to the look of the page and that asymmetry, I had to cut off some of the pieces of pattern paper so that it didn't literally span across the whole page. So these photos I've said are of his 400 free. The 3 on the left-hand side are consecutive pictures, and then the 2 on the right-hand side are also consecutive pictures, and then that is the scoreboard with his final time on there. So you can see this is where they overlap and they are asymmetrical, but you can't really tell in the grand scheme of things. I do end up covering the hello that's on that left-hand side. I do end up covering some of the circles that I really liked, but the way that the layout came together, I was doing the best that I could, and you can't really plan mixed media sometimes. I mean, I suppose I could have put the papers down, but honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do with those particular papers, so it would have been really difficult to do. So some of it's covered, c'est la vie, work with it, right? And that's the beauty about art, is that it just ends up being the way that it is, and that's okay. So I have committed to the placement of those. You can see how that dotted paper is going to be contiguous all the way across, but the pictures that are slightly askew kind of add to the movement of the page. So I have here some of the clear stickers. I have that dark scoreboard on that right hand side, so I feel like I need to incorporate a little bit more navy into the layout to provide some weight to counterbalance that, and that's what I'm going to do with some of these clear stickers. Again, you can see that movement from that top left starting to come down to move your eye from him swimming, and then he's done his flip turn and he's heading back to the finish there. These are the ephemera pieces. So I'm going to use that Happy Times as my title there. Not very original, but these are the letters that I have and the ephemera that I have, and so I wanted to incorporate that and make that the title. I'm going to pull out a couple of the hearts, and again, you can see how this is all ending up being rather blue and monochromatic. It's not until the end that I really want to add that pop of pink to it. There weren't really red elements, so that hot pink is the closest that I could come up with for the red, and I just decided to go with it. I go back and forth between the acrylic elements and the sticker elements. This is where I'm looking for that blue there and the heart. And again, I just want to put a little bit of, I know I want something up the top there where I'm working there. And again, it's just to take that visual line that is at the bottom of the page and put a shorter line at the top, which just kind of unites that movement. It creates a starting place point for your eye, you move down through the title and then across those photos there. I am going to journal. I'm going to end up doing that off camera, and that is going to go under the bottom of the strip towards the middle of the layout. I don't actually end up liking the placement of where the journaling is. I wish I had put it on the right hand side so that it went with that flow of that diagonal motion there, but it is what it is, and it's going to stay there. So this is that pop of pink. It ends up actually being the end of one of the pieces of paper, the turquoise paper, that background that I just cut off. And so it ended up providing the perfect place to nestle the title, and it really does pop the title a little bit more. I also do end up sticking a label, I believe, to the right of Happy Times, and it just pulls that line a little bit more and it makes it seem a little less abrupt. And the other thing that I really liked about that pink and white stripe behind Happy Times is it kind of mimics the lane lines. The lane lines are blue and white, but they have that same alternating color as the pink and white that is behind Happy Times there. So I just used a couple of the phrase stickers. They were somewhat relevant to the page, but again, just to add a little bit more visual interest. And then I am going to just use my adhesive and adhere all of these different things down. I actually, it's hard to use the big ATG to get things stuck down, so I have that smaller dot roller there. I am using a few more of the hearts, and again, it's just for the continuity to move your eye along that page. This is another one of the phrase stickers, and I'm going to pull that off to the side. This is one of the tags, and again, it's a lighter version of pink. It's kind of red, but again, that movement, you've got those three red pieces between, or pink, I should say, / red, between that stripe piece behind the title, and then we've got this butterfly here, the tag, and then you've got that red that's in the Speedo in the time board, and that, so it kind of moves your eye across the page there. So that, my friends, is going to be my interpretation of Iris's sketch. These are the close-ups. Be sure to head over to Iris's channel and check out what it is that she's done with the sketch. She has a different size format that she's working with. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. I hope to see you again soon. Take care.